everyone, welcome back to the kitchen, and today I have the most retro of classic kitchen basics you can get. My most requested recipe of all time, a classic meatloaf. Today I'm going to show you how to do this, and I can't wait to get started. Go over all of the ingredients for our classic meatloaf recipe. This is just so simple. I know you're gonna love it. I prefer to use a combination of ground chuck and ground pork in my meatloaf. This gives it the best fat content because you want a moist meatloaf, and if you don't blend them, in my opinion, it's just not as good. I think that the ground pork adds a nice richness to the meatloaf and a great flavor. If you prefer, you can use whatever ground meat you like. You can use chicken, turkey, elk, bison, venison, whatever you have on hand. You're just gonna need between 2 and 3 pounds depending. If I do 3 pounds of meat, I usually make 2 meatloaves and I bake them both off at the same time, and I put one in the freezer after it's cooled down. Today I'm using 1.5 pounds because the beef came in a 1 pound package and the ground pork came in a 1.5 pound package. So we're just gonna roll with it. We're gonna use our meatloaf seasoning mix that we made in a previous video. If you didn't see that, I'll link it down below in the information box, as well as leave an iCard here on the screen. You can click the little I in the upper right-hand corner of the screen and it will do a little pop out with all my links. So we're gonna use 1/4 cup per pound. I have 2.5 pounds. I'm still only going to use 1/2 cup of mix because that's going to be plenty to season this up with. I'm going to use 1 cup of dry breadcrumbs. This is just dry seasoned breadcrumbs. You can use plain if you like. 1 cup of fresh breadcrumb. That means 1 cup of breadcrumb that you've ground from like sandwich bread or hamburger buns. And the best, easiest way that I know to do that is I usually keep some rolls in my freezer. And if you take a frozen hamburger bun and run it over the fine side of your box grater, this is what you get. And that's exactly what you need. Just 1 hamburger bun is gonna make you 1 cup of fresh breadcrumb. You're gonna need 2 eggs. My formula for meatloaf is 1 egg per pound of meat. So again, because we have 2.5 pounds, still only gonna use 2 eggs. It's gonna be plenty. 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of ketchup if you desire. I like a little tomatoey edge in the meatloaf itself. I do not like the ketchup glaze that a lot of people enjoy, but if you enjoy that, I will tell you how to do that later. We're gonna add some additional seasoning with 1 teaspoon of cracked black pepper and 1 teaspoon of your favorite steak seasoning. If you don't wanna do that, you can totally leave it out. And now we're gonna mix it up. While we wait, I want to take a moment to say thank you for watching and being a part of our community. And please consider hitting that thumbs up button if you like what you see. And if you're new to my kitchen, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button. And as always, if you're a tried and true member of the Noreen's Kitchen family, be sure and hit the bell notification button because we don't want you to miss out on all the real food for real people, real easy recipes that we present all the time right here on our YouTube channel and straight from our kitchen. All right, now we're just gonna mix everything together. So everything goes in the bowl. Making a meatloaf is not rocket science. It's super simple, and I don't say that phrase to insult anyone who's never made a meatloaf before. I just want you to know how simple it is. Sometimes we overcomplicate things and we make it, we make it hard on ourselves. So in with our meatloaf seasoning mix, our milk. Always, always, always add some moisture to your meatloaf. And then the ketchup. And if you're doing this at home, not like me, just eyeball that. Just get you the ketchup bottle and squeeze it in. I put on a pair of gloves because I don't like mixing meatloaf with bare hands. You can get in here with both hands. And what you want to do is you want to turn the meat and you want to incorporate all of that goodness together. But you don't want to overmix it. Overmixing is going to make you have a tough, dense meatloaf. You just kind of want to ease everything together. But you want it to be well mixed. You don't want there to be giant pockets of places where there's no seasoning or no breadcrumb. Just kind of mix it up, have fun with it like you were a kid with your Play-Doh, and make sure you get that all in there. Pretty much this mixture is going to tell you when it's blended together, and you can see we haven't overmixed it, but it's all come together kind of in one nice cohesive mass. So what I like to do is to get the formation started. I do not make my meatloaves in a loaf pan. I just don't like it that way. My mom never made meatloaf that way. If you want to do this in a loaf pan, you're going to need 2 loaf pans because this is enough meat to make 2 meatloaves in loaf pans. Actually, maybe I'll make 2 small meatloaves. And just kind of let the side of the bowl help you with your formation. What you want to do is kind of make a football shape with a flat bottom. What I'm going to do is I'll be right back with a pan and we'll lay these out and we'll get busy. Alright, I've gone ahead and I formed the meatloaves, and I'm glad I did it in 2 separate ones. I often do this because this gives me a meal and a spare. This gives me a meatloaf to enjoy for dinner tonight, and we'll probably have a leftover or 2 of slices. And then it gives me one to cool down, wrap tightly, and put in the freezer for another meal. I'm going to bake this at 350 degrees for approximately 45 minutes to an hour, or until the internal temperature when taken on an instant read thermometer reads 160 degrees, between 155 and 160. If you're at like 155, I'd go ahead and pull it, because as it rests, because you want this to rest for 10 minutes after you take it out of the oven, that temperature is going to rise due to carryover cooking. If you like a glaze on your meatloaf, you can do that. I have written the instructions on the written recipe. You can find a link to that down below in the information box, and it will tell you all about how you can do that. You just mix up some ingredients, put it on during the last 15 minutes of cooking, and you're gonna be good to go. Into the oven, these are gonna go for a nice warm nap, and when I bring you back, I will show you what our glorious, really retro, classic comfort food meatloaf looks like. Okay, our meatloaves have come out of the oven. They've rested for 10 minutes. Mine baked for 45 minutes, at which time I checked their internal temperature and it was 160 degrees. They've been resting, as I said, for about 10 minutes, and they smell incredible. Yeah. I'm cooking the rest of my dinner. We're gonna have mashed potatoes, green beans, and a mushroom gravy. And in my house, when I make a meatloaf, I prefer the end piece. So I'm gonna cut this open just for you before we have our final shot. But I want you to see how beautiful and moist that meatloaf is. It's gorgeous. You want to taste it?
I have to.
Yeah, I think you have to. How's that taste? Oh my gosh. Wow. That is super flavorful. Made with our meatloaf seasoning mix. Oh man.
You're going to have to make more.
That is so good. You guys, I also plan on sharing some things to do with leftover meatloaf. I'm going to platter this up, and I'll be back and I'll give you some final thoughts, and I'll show you what it looks like all sliced up. There you have it. There is our meatloaf we're going to be having for dinner tonight, all sliced up and ready to go. A couple of notes. If you don't like ketchup, you don't have to feel the need to put it in there, but you're going to have to substitute out milk or water. If you want to use barbecue sauce, you can do that instead and make a barbecue flavored meatloaf. You can substitute the ketchup or the barbecue sauce, or you can substitute it for marinara sauce, and you can melt mozzarella cheese and put more sauce on top and make an Italian style meatloaf. You can substitute the ketchup for salsa, and you can make a Mexican style meatloaf, and then at the end you can pour more salsa over it and melt cheddar cheese on top and have like a taco meatloaf. There are a lot of different things you can do with a meatloaf, and you should not feel restricted by just this very basic recipe. This is a place to start. From there, your possibilities are truly endless. Bacon. So you can wrap it in bacon, absolutely, and it would be amazing. That is how you make a truly delicious, really retro, classic comfort food meatloaf straight from my kitchen. I hope that you give this a try, and I hope that you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.